DJs used to hire me to tell them which songs to play and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I can buy a piece of gear today and sell it tomorrow. I'm that crazy. From day one, pretty much, I built my business online. And they asked me, can you Atmos? And I never did Atmos. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So much better than saying no.
Because then you ain't got anything from it.
If you said no once, they will never call you back.
That's it.
They will never call you back.
I see red lights. That's good. So, the room that you were like, what's the word? You were like turning the lights on, and you had like a webcam.
Yeah.
That's in LA, right?
No, that's in Luxembourg.
That's in Luxembourg.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
all the way across.
That's what's so amazing about it.
Yeah. There's a guy we need to introduce you to. He's called Dyre Gormsen. He's oh no, he's gonna kill me. Right, he's either Swedish, Danish, or Norwegian.
I think he's Norwegian.
He's one of the Scandinavian countries.
We're
But anyway,
sorry.
he's an absolute legend. He's in a few places. He low key does like loads of like OVO stuff. But when I saw him, he was doing in Atmos. And actually, he was early days to audio movers. I went to see him in West London. There's a studio which is like, it was big in the 80s, like Depeche Mode. Right, but he's got this tiny, like the smallest Atmos room imaginable, right?
He was doing Kenny Beats, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did Kenny Beats,
for real?
all that kind of stuff. So he gets crazy credits, and like
You wouldn't think it if you met him, like
Really?
that he's
So
doing all of these, like,
chill.
nuts, like
Right.
so
Yeah,
unassuming, just like the chillest guy ever. And and he used to be a producer actually. Anyway, I'll tell you this story. I'm like going around the houses now. This is a few years back. This is when I first started at Audio Movers, and because we already had multi-channel, we just released like multi-channel.
Yeah.
And he was like just sent like a voice note in Swedish to his boy, and then like they FaceTimed, and they pressed play.
Okay.
And it was in like Stockholm, and it had this crazy Atmos room, and then it was coming out here, Atmos.
Atmos. Wow.
Yeah. And
That's
then he
cool.
was like, oh, down the road, there's like, there's a soundstage here. They film a lot of TV ads, like out in West London, right? And he was like, yeah, over there's an old cinema. I set it up as an Atmos room. So they do film, score, playback and stuff. So what you're kind of doing in terms of remote connected and stuff like that, obviously very different use case, because he was just doing Atmos playback.
Yeah.
But he was on it day one.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny. So
I think with my setup, people are blown away that I run through analog gear. That's because I can master on plugins here and not do that.
yes.
But the whole point is to run through the analog gear.
Yeah, you're getting that feeling and you're getting that system.
Yeah.
Do you think that without that system, your career would have had the same like trajectory that it's had over recently?
I mean, it's hard to say, really. I can master with plugins,
But like the whole like, being able to accept a job whilst on an aeroplane sort of thing, like that surely gives you a bit of an edge.
I mean, it gives me more confidence because I know my system. So it kind of works for me. And that's my sound, even though mastering engineers don't have sound.
Right.
But it's still, it's just part of my deal, if you hire me, that's what I'm offering. And that's what basically pushed me forward. My sound, the way I work, my gear. It's nice to still be able to use it even if I'm far.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Amazing.
Can you talk us through like I know we're gonna do a track breakdown with Ohad and show all that and show the process, and you got a track you're gonna play. But can you talk maybe very briefly about some of that gear that you've accumulated and why it's so essential to your sound?
Yeah. So basically over the last 7 years, I think I tested every piece of gear in my studio, like for real. Basically I was looking for the cleanest pieces of gear, but also the ones that let me shape tone in the way I like. And I'm very specific. From like a young age, I listen to music in a specific way. I used to kind of track music before it came out, and I could kind of predict like what's gonna be exploding and what's not. And I used to, when I was young, DJs used to hire me to tell them which songs to play and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I became a DJ and kind of tried to do that. But so that's kind of leading to the gear choices of nowadays. That's just as how my ears work. So, I mean, I can buy a piece of gear today and sell it tomorrow. I'm that crazy, you know?
Right,
like-
right. Yeah. If it's not working.
Yeah, if it's not working, it's not clicking with the other gear or with the way I like to work or listen to music. So, yeah.
Do you remember what the first piece of like mastering equipment you bought was when you were like, okay, I'm gonna start building out my studio?
Yeah. So, I mean, I started with the Ozone,
Right.
like,
Okay.
like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then I hooked up with a friend, and I moved in. He already had a studio, and he had a couple of pieces of gear in the studio, but I never played with analog gear before.
Mhm.
So when I moved to that studio, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a different like world to explore here." And he had a like a Phoenix compressor. Yeah, don't remember the company, but I was like, okay, like a tube compressor. That was I was like, okay, this is cool. And then he started with analog gear, but I ended up being the one pushing him to buy more.
Right, right.
So like, oh, I saw this, and let's try that, and Neve, and you know, we tried everything, and a company called Giraffe that do like cool stuff. So already back then, I kind of played with everything and changed the cues and stuff like that.
Right, I see. I was gonna ask you that is there been like anyone throughout your career that's been like a mentor to you when it comes to mastering and sort of like taking you under his wing or her wing?
So no, I'm a soloist from day one.
Oh wow.
I mean, I like to learn by myself. Like if there's something I don't know, I'll dive in. I don't have a problem. If I really want to know something, I will go super deep dive. Like for 2 weeks, I'll just
Dedicate yourself to it
dedicate
and learn it.
myself.
And what does that look like? You're on Gearspace or forums, or you're reading old tape
Everything.
ops, or what do you?
Really everything.
Yeah.
Tape ops, Gearspace. I just I built my last room by myself, like acoustics and everything.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, because when we moved to Luxembourg, I was like, okay, I couldn't find a space because the music scene in Luxembourg is not that big, so there were not any like available space to build a studio. So I told my wife, okay, let's just find a house that I can build a studio. So in between, we were in like a temporary house until the other one was ready. So like, okay, I need to keep on working. So that was my test room. So I deep dive on acoustics, like, and that's a rabbit hole.
I was
Like,
gonna say that's a whole
that's
world.
a rabbit hole, man.
Just building rooms is like
It's
that's,
like yeah, you can't get out of it for real.
Yeah.
And
Why Luxembourg? Why move to Luxembourg?
so I met my now wife when I used to live in London as well,
Right.
and we met there. Then we moved together to Berlin.
What
And
part
she's
of London?
East side,
Okay.
close to Brick Lane. Close to Brick
Okay,
Lane. Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Before it became like so commercialized, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
Where everything was still like Indian shops and Indian food.
it's
and,
the two
still-
bagel shops.
It's still,
It's still
but, yeah.
come through, you know. We still got
Yeah.
come down Bethnal Green. There's still some
Yeah. I was on
I'm-
Bethnal Green. That's where I used to live. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Shout out
Sweet.
the bagel shop.
Yeah. I might have to cut this because I don't know if I really want people knowing where I live. But yeah, that's been my home for a long time.
All right.
I've got mates from when I was 10 years old, and we still same pubs, same everything.
Yeah. Still
so,
now that if we go to London, we stay around there. I mean,
Yeah.
we just love that area.
mate, come through.
Yeah, for sure.
let's do it.
Amazing.
So yeah, we met in London, moved to Berlin, been there for like 9 years. Yeah, and my wife is Luxembourgish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Randomly, yeah, you meet a Luxembourgish in London, it's like a needle in a haystack, you know.
Right.
But that's the beauty of London, though.
That's the beauty
man.
of
you
London,
know, it's
definitely.
like, you know, they say like stuff like there's more Kurds in London than there is in like, you know, the
Yeah,
Middle East.
yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then during COVID, our daughter was born, and then we kind of figured out Berlin was changing after COVID, and it wasn't really like a place for families anymore, or at least we didn't feel like
Right.
part of that scene anymore. So we're like, okay, let's move to closer to one of the families. I didn't want to go back home to Israel. Okay, let's go to Luxembourg.
Right.
Sick.
Yeah. So you're
Sick.
closer to her family and have that connection and support and stuff.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you find working as a mastering engineer? Like now, obviously, you're working with some of the best mix engineers in the world on
Yeah.
some of the biggest projects in the world. Like, did you find it difficult to like carve a lane for yourself at that like high level, being sort of like slightly separated from like the main music cities?
Yeah. So, I mean, from day one, pretty much, I built my business online because I was always like a geeky kid, like to dive into the internet and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I figured, I mean, why let location kind of limit you, you know?
Mm.
And nowadays with the internet, and even, I don't know, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, it still was like that when social media started like growing up and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
It's so easy to reach out to people. So I started on a platform called Sound Better, where you
big
offer
up.
your services. Right at the beginning, basically. I mean, I waited like 6 months until they approved me and everything. I didn't even have credits or anything.
Right.
But I don't know. I was, I guess, convincing on the conversation. We did like a Zoom call and stuff
That was it with Sasha?
with Shahar. I think.
Shaha, sorry.
Yeah,
My pronunciation.
Yeah, no worries.
Shaha,
Shaha, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So we jumped on a Zoom call. You just wanted, I guess, to know that I'm a real person and I actually kind of do music.
Sick.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was kind of one of the first on the platform. And you know, there's nobody there, and they started pushing the company, so people were checking it out, and they saw me, and I don't know, I started getting like small projects, stuff like that. I didn't even know like how much to charge and stuff like that. I was just like playing along. And then yeah, from that somebody asked me, "Can you master?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I had no idea what I'm doing, but you know, it is. You never
So
say no.
you were mixing.
I
Sound
came from
Better.
production. Actually, I used to produce
Okay.
electronic music, but
Right.
that never picked up for me.
Okay.
So I moved to mixing.
Okay. because you were in Berlin.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's as big a pond as it gets for.
So yeah, if we go a bit back, when I moved to Berlin, I took a year off and basically just produced music and started to get in. I wanted to get into the techno scene. I mean, you move to Berlin, you want to be in part of the techno
Yeah.
scene.
Sure.
But that never picked up for me. I mean,
I guess it's quite a competitive place.
it's
Yeah,
competitive and
yeah.
you really need to be in that mindset. And I wasn't in that mindset back then,
Right.
you know. I'm not gonna call myself lazy, but you need to be in that space to go all in on something.
Mm-mm.
And I wasn't there, which
Yeah.
fair enough, you know. I mean, I enjoyed producing music. I mean, my love to analog gear or hardware was even back then. I only used like analog synths and stuff like that.
Mm.
But yeah, that didn't work. So I like tried mixing.
Yeah.
And that worked for a while. And then somebody asked me to master. And then I kept on doing both until I got bored of mixing or I got tired of it. You know, it's a different, yeah.
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 I feel
Yeah.
like that's like a bit more of a common story as well. Like just sort of like, lying's not the right word, but like
Yeah.
just accepting it. Oh, okay, someone's asked me, can I do it? Like, yeah, sure. It was the exact same for me at my
Exactly.
first master.
Yeah.
Like I'd never professionally mastered a record for anyone.
Exactly.
And I just said, yeah.
I
And
mean,
I was very lucky because
yeah.
that one ended up being like still my biggest record that
I mean,
I've
you
ever
never
worked on.
say no.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm.
I mean, 2 years ago, somebody asked me, I was working with like a universal music project, and they asked me, "Can you Atmos?" And I never did Atmos. I was
Yeah.
like, "Yes."
Yeah.
No, I remember they texted me,
Yeah.
"Can you do Atmos?" I didn't reply. Yeah, I didn't let them see that I saw the message. I went online and I saw, and I was looking like, how fast can I learn how to do an Atmos mix?
Yeah.
And I saw, okay, I can do it in 24 hours. I can learn how to, and it was like a rush project.
Yeah.
I was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
So I texted back, yes. And then I Googled how much people charge for Atmos mixes.
Yeah.
And then they asked me like, okay, what's the rate? I told them, yeah, this and that. I was
So
like,
where you
okay, cool, approved.
Yeah,
That's what you
Uh,
got to do.
It's
early,
that simple.
Early,
It is that
yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Early days. That's what you got to do, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's
Because
the
it is
files.
that it
Yeah.
is that simple. Like, you know, you all right, cool. You might not know how to do it in that point, but if you're dedicated enough and you're on it
Exactly.
enough, like you will figure it out. Do you know what I mean? And then the worst case is you said yes, and then they're like, that sounds like shit, and they hire someone else. But
Yeah.
like, you know, you've still learned so much from that. Do you
and
know
that's
what I mean?
so much better than saying no.
Because then you ain't got anything from it.
If you said no once, they will never call you back.
That's it.
They will never call you back.
You got to try and take the opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
okay to
a
fail, but don't say no. I mean,
Sure. Yeah. Did
couldn't
you
agree
ever?
more.
Because like, I feel, and I'm going to derail this because Berlin came up, and so now I'm like, yeah, let's talk about some dance music. But I feel like the sonics of that kind of music is very specific.
Yeah.
It's very much, built for certain kinds of sound systems.
Yeah.
There's a kind of an energy and a flow to it, and the dynamics are very different.
Yeah.
Did that sort of inform your because like in dance music, for example, producers mix their own stuff, right? And it's really the mastering that you hand off, and then actually weirdly, it's like Rashad Becker and people like that get a lot of the mastering in Berlin for that stuff.
True.
So was that kind of like your path where you're like, I'm kind of mixing my record as I'm making it, or?
So though, if we go back to producing, the way I produce music is like, I didn't mix it at all. The way I did it, I had a couple of synths and a mixer, and I was pretty much mixing as I produce. And I'm a more of like a sequencer guy and stuff like that, and a drum machine and stuff. So everything is running basically. I found like, let's say, a rhythm and melody that just going on, and I'll just play the track live as I go. But then I would not mix it or edit like in the box. I would go straight to master, myself. Yeah.
Well, that's going back to Detroit, isn't it? Derek May and all those guys. That's how they did it.
Yeah, it's in the performance.
Yeah.
It's already there.
Yeah,
if you start shifting and balancing after it, you kind of lose the magic.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to be like, sort of intellectualize. Like you're trying to make a tune for the club.
Yeah.
To be like, let me just fix that. You want to be in the moment and kind of like, is it hitting?
Exactly.
When should it hit? Now is when it should hit.
And I'm very extreme with that. Back then, if the track didn't came out, like I didn't enjoy it at the same moment, I would delete the project. I'm not the one to, okay, I'll come back to it tomorrow and see if it works. No, if I didn't catch that specific moment or the mindset that I had, I would let it go. Like it's gone from the computer, It's
There's still a skill set to that though. Like I feel like, not every producer out there would be able to, because you're right in saying you're not mixing, but you are still like subconsciously mixing as you go.
Yeah.
Like through the feeling, and like you have to have a certain understanding of like at least the basics to be able to run and
balance and gain stage.
Yeah, and just have a natural ear for it.
Yeah.
Talking about like your mastering career, because you are doing such incredible work now, and you said how you started on the platform Sound Better.
Yeah.
Was there like a moment where like you got a particular song sent to you or a project come through and you were like, holy shit, like this is like a fucking big moment?
I mean, on Sound Better, I think what made most of my progress from that point, I didn't even know it's big. I got a song to kind of edit for Lil Yachty.
Oh wow!
But before he really exploded, it was one of his first mixtapes or something like that.
Okay.
And early back then, I figured out like everyone I worked with, I'll just put on my credits. I mean, that's how you build credits. They're known or not unknown, whatever. I'll put it on my credits.
Yeah.
But then I put it, and then a lot of people saw Lil Yachty, and people from the hip hop scene or people who make hip hop music. Oh wow, you worked with Lil Yachty, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really picked up
okay,
like my
so
career.
Even though he at the time he wasn't like.
Yeah, I mean, it was SoundCloud days,
Yeah.
So you always have those kids and people that are like
Blowing
super
up.
deep in SoundCloud and looking for new artists, and he was just really like
mumble rap, and that
exactly.
was it. It was
that
all
was
on SoundCloud.
back then. Yeah.
Well, and Lil, he's like arguably like one of the biggest to like blow up from SoundCloud.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So
Exactly.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
the SoundCloud.
He is like the pinnacle of that
SoundCloud
whole
sound.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's dope. That, and it wasn't like it's sort of like that name is able to like carry you further up, and then
Yeah,
you-
slowly I got more hip hop. So at the beginning, I used to do like a lot of hip hop records.
Mm.
I didn't mind. I liked
And that
those.
was what talk us through that. That was mixing that project. Or
That was that was like it was editing, and yeah, they wanted to add a feature or something. I had to kind of do tweaks and stuff like that too.
okay,
like
like
the-
vocal chops.
Yeah,
or-
something like that.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not even proper mixing or mastering or anything.
Wow.
But I put it
Yeah.
on my credits, you know. It's like
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
people just see the name. And
Exactly.
Then it carries the weight.
yeah. And then I got a couple of albums to do, and the guys were nice enough to spread the word about me.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a lot more work. Yeah, I did a lot of hip hop back then, really a lot, and some electronic music, but it was mainly hip hop.
Mm-mm.
How did you? Because we were saying earlier, like you've got like such a brilliant relationship with Teezio now,
Yeah.
and you work very closely with him. How did that relationship come about?
So about a year and a half ago, I was doing well with my business. You know, I had the basis of my clients, and it was cool. But I always had like crazy ambitions. You know,
Mhm.
like from where I come from, people don't have this kind of ambition, not even half of what. But that's how my brain works. You know, I need like a big thing in front of me to chase.
Yeah, of course.
And I always wanted to get into the US scene because I did some UK stuff back then, but nothing really exploded for me. So I did
Anything that we might know?
from back then. Well, I don't even remember, to be honest. Like a year and a half ago, I don't remember what I mastered yesterday, but no, yeah.
That's what
I
Insta- that's
mastered a lot. Yeah,
Did
That's
you
what
do any like
Instagram's
grime
for,
artists or
yeah.
anything like that?
Yeah, but like young ones, you know.
Okay.
None of them really like grew up with the
Okay,
music.
right.
So, but I got to a point where I was super confident with my sound. I knew I can compete with the higher level of mastering engineers.
Mhm.
I just needed connections, you know. So I started reading a lot of like marketing books, social media books, like everything really. And I figured out that there's this thing in marketing called cold emails. You sell a product, you reach out to a trillion of people. You know, some of them interested, want to buy it. Like
Okay.
proper business.
Mhm.
Like, okay, I think it's time for me to think of myself as not like a freelancer or a singular master engineer or an artist or whatever. I'm a business, and and a business want to grow, you know, and reach more buyers. I'll call it. So okay, I'll do the cold email thing. Let's see if it works. So I researched like who's the biggest mixing engineers right now, who's doing what, looked at music that I like, checked who's the producer, who's the mixer, and made a list. And then I started like figuring like a way of approaching them, like a writing, like my style. But of course, I used ChatGPT to help me a bit with the
Yeah.
wording and stuff like that. And I just started. I think I even had like end of 23. I had like a more of a quiet period that I was living like, is it like working out? Should I sell gear? Like, what am I doing? Like, okay, I'm gonna go full on this approach. I think I sent like, I don't know, 200 emails and DMs on Instagram like every week. Like I went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going all in on this. Something gonna happen. And basically I was just like telling people like, listen, I love what you do. I think the way I work would gel nice with the way you approach music. Let me do a demo for you. And talking about Teezio was, I guess, had a good day, and he was in a good mindset, and he replied. I was like, okay, sounds cool. And we had like a small chat here and there, and of course I had to chase it, you know, for 4 months. I was like every
Mhm.
2 weeks, like, yo, so what's up? You want to do something? You got something for me to run, you know? And I did it with a couple of people that replied. And it came to that point where I figured, okay, I feel like Teezio is a guy that needs to see you. You know, he needs to see a face before he will send me something. And then
That's very accurate. Yeah.
and that was right before NAM. I was like, okay, I think NAM is my place to go. I checked it out. I saw everybody's going to that. He got like a session with PMC and stuff like that because he was nominated for Grammys back then with Victoria Monet. Okay, I was like, okay, if I wanted to properly introduce myself, I have to go. And to be honest, I grew up as a very introvert person. And the internet kind of saved me in a way.
Yeah.
Because it's just text, you know, you don't have to stand in front of people and talk to them. So chatting online kind of also opened up like a conversation starter for me. As an introvert person, that's the hardest thing, like to start a conversation.
So it broke the ice a little bit because you'd actually already spoke to them.
Exactly. He already knew me. So I didn't have to go through like, oh, I'm a mastering engineer from here and there, you know. He already knew
you were
I
just
am.
like, hey, what's up?
Yeah. So I found him, I tracked him down in NAM. And I was actually surprised the way he reacted. He was like super nice. And just like you, he was like, am I pronouncing your name right? You know, he was like super, super chill. He was like, you know what? Come to the studio on Monday.
Oh, wow.
So I went to his studio. I played some of my masters. He was like, okay, it sounds like we need to work together.
Amazing.
When are you back in your studio? 2 days later, I flew back. Day after, he sent me something to master. And yeah, that's basically where it started.
The rest is history.
The rest is history, as they say, yeah.
So that's very inspirational. I think that's something that everyone listening and watching at home can take in, you know, like a lot of people might have been disheartened in the fact that like they got a response, but then they were you know, palming them off. They would have felt like it was being palmed off. They're not responding. They're like, whatever. Like, you know, some people can take it so personally and be like, oh, F this guy. Do you know what I mean? You kept the pursuit up to the point where you
gotta
jumped on a plane and flown all the way and taken your opportunity.
You gotta, man.
Yeah, because people at his level are like beyond busy. Like,
exactly.
And they feel untouchable.
It's terrifying how busy he is, man.
Exactly.
You know?
At first, it really
every time
feels,
I talk to him, he's got 3 projects due yesterday.
It really feels untouchable when you look at it from far. You see these people like online. You see them mix with the masters. You see them doing like crazy tutorials.
Yeah, I mean, they are superstars in their own right now.
Exactly. Yeah. In our scene, they are celebs. Yeah, they are superstars.
Yeah. But you get, I mean, like some of the, you know, we were speaking to Alan Meyerson, right? I mean, this guy could not be nicer. Exactly. And you're like, his career is just insane. Man.
Yeah, there's not many people I've spoken to that have like a more crazy catalog of like a portfolio is just unreal. Like
for sure.
Every single Hans Zimmer movie for like the last 30 years. And to top it off, Kung Fu Panda. Which is, like, my favorite
that was film. The one. That's really the jewel in the crown.
For me personally, you know. I told him that. You know? Well, you told him that. But yeah. No.
But like so with Teezio, you did that flow. So a big group out of the UK.
Yeah. I mean, we started.
Up.
The biggest thing I started with Teezio was I did a Jake record.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really exploded.
Yeah.
And then I did Normani with Ghana.
Okay.
Single.
Yeah.
That did very well, and a lot of people use it as a reference. Which like,
oh wow,
yeah, like Devon, you know Devon.
Yeah. Good friend of mine.
So he used it as his reference. He was like, "This is like one of the best masters I've ever heard."
Oh,
he always give me shouts on his lives, on his podcast.
Yeah.
He's just like,
he's great for stuff like that.
Yeah,
he knows game as well. He's like,
I love him. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, he goes deep. Yeah.
And then we did Ski Mask, a full album, and I think the biggest one so far, album-wise, was Flow from the UK.
Yeah.
Which is, I think they're amazing. These girls, they're so good.
Do you think? I mean, obviously, Teezio, you know, he's now crossed many genres.
Yeah.
He came up for a very, very, very long time with Chris Brown doing R&B and doing these like crazy, insane. They're like Michael Jackson vocal stacks. You know, the projects are ridiculous.
Yeah.
The Flow, a big R&B record. Did you have like? Was there certain types of projects or certain type of sounds where you thought, you know what, I can really nail that, or I can really do that? Or are you just kind of like, hey, if it's a techno record, it's a country record, let's do it. I don't, you know?
So yeah, I master everything really.
Yeah.
Because of the US market, then I mean, of course, I do more hip hop, R&B, pop. Maybe R&B is my favorite genre, I would
Mhm.
say, but I can work
Oh,
on
really?
anything. Yeah, I'm really into R&B. It's kind of between hip hop and pop. There's like influences from here and there and soul. So
But
I really like it.
do you think about the sonics and the dynamics very differently, or do you kind of like, or are you just like, I know what this track is about, let me just emphasize what this track is about?
I mean, that's my approach to mastering in general. I'm not a cutting guy.
Sure.
I'm not trying to clean things. I'm more of a push up guy. So if I don't look for faults in a mix, I mean,
Mm.
there's faults and Teezio also, or like asking me like smooth things up and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But my approach to mastering is basically, I'll find like the nice thing in the mix, and I'll push them forward.
Interesting.
I will push the more musicality in the song.
I guess
So,
that's
yeah.
easier though when you're working with like such amazing mix engineers. 'Cause you're not being sent like dog
Definitely.
shit.
Definitely.
yeah.
But let's say the mix is, we'll call it average, not to insult anyone.
Okay.
No,
But,
but that can happen because like you don't know what he got. You know, it's like down the
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
It's
It starts
always,
with the
it's always
recording.
where it starts. Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it can be tough. Mastering engineer, you're
Yeah.
the last guy in the line, so it's
Yeah.
like,
Please save this.
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I get a lot of these.
Mastering
Yeah.
will save
Yeah,
it. You
mastering
know?
will save it. Yeah.
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 If anyone says that to me, I'm like, bro.
But with that approach, with save it, then pushing things up kind of saves it.
Right, yeah.
Because
The right thing.
yeah, because when I push the right things, I cover up for the
Some
not
of the
so
bad
nice things.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he might not have got like beautiful 200 track, you know, like like everything perfectly, you know, like he might have got.
I mean, I would say that Teezio's mixes are the most fun for me to work on. They're like, to be honest, Teezio can release his mixes like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Almost every time. But he figured out that I give him the extra push, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Even if it's just like 2-3%.
Exactly.
I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
something.
It makes a difference.
Can you elaborate on that? Like technically, like when you say like a Teezio mix is the funnest mix for me to
Yeah.
get, because this is now, you know, you're basically saying out there to other mix engineers, this is how I want it. Like what? So what does that look like or sound like?
So, proper gain stage, proper balance, right use of clipping. So there's nothing jumping out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I can take that and raise it more, and nothing would trigger my clipper, my lavery, my gear. It just, super balanced. He understands how sound works, and there's no need for overprocessing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a key thing with like young mixer. They're always overprocessing. They put like shitload of plugins, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you really lose the feel of the.
It sucks the
yeah.
entire life out of it. That's
Exactly.
one thing that I always say. I do like a small mentorship program, and we'll pull up one of their mixes, and I'm like, bro, let's take all of them off that vocal and start again.
Yeah.
And they'll see they only need like 5-6 plugins. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
max.
in my eyes, a mix can work just by using like balance and the stereo.
Yeah, if it's recorded
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
like obviously, you know,
obviously,
there's
yeah.
fixing.
It
There's
has to
always
start from
fixing
the recording.
involved. Yeah.
Yeah. But and we've had conversations with like, you know, and from guys who were like the 90s, you know, like hip hop, you know what I mean? And it was still tape on a desk, you know,
Exactly.
and 99% of it is like, you know, this is my instrument. I don't need any, I'm not doing any weird stuff. I'm not like, this is it, this is my instrument. I'm gonna get them, you know, I'm gonna balance and then I'm gonna mix and it's gonna be here.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah, you don't need like trillion plugins to make it work.
No.
Yeah.
They're just like,
What was it that BT said? Option paralysis.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I think that's the issue
Yeah.
a lot of the time.
I mean, and I was there, you know. I had like 20 pieces of gear in my studio. But why? You know?
Yeah.
Until you realize like less is more.
I mean, we're
What-
on the same topic, but I wanted to ask you, like, in the simplistic way, like, what do you think? Because we touched on it at the panel at PMC and Audio Movers, but like, what do you think defines a great mastering engineer? Like, what is it about their way of work that defines that?
I don't know if there's like a proper definition of like a great mastering engineer. I mean, great, that's like different, like a difficult way to kind of comment on a mastering engineer because we're all different, you
Mm.
know. I think at the end we get chosen because our taste, you know, and our style, and if we know how to deal with problems and not create problems. So yeah, I think that's a good definition of a good mastering engineer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Being able
And-
to be easy to work with and
Exactly.
yeah.
Clear communication. I'm a strong believer in like customer service. Again, the business side of things.
Mm.
So I will jump. I mean, if you need something like fast, I'll deliver it like in 30 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
And that's also what I'm trying to do against, like, I don't know. I don't call them competition, like colleagues, let's say, especially in the US, because I'm on a different time zone. It kind of works to my benefit. Because if I get something, let's say in US time evening, by the time they get up, it's already in their
Yeah,
mailbox.
they're in their inbox.
I really wanted to ask you about that because that's a tricky thing because you know I'm in the UK and sometimes it's hard to do business. Everyone's
Yeah.
on the West Coast primarily in our
Mhm.
game. So, but that you see that as because you're kind of a
That's
day
a
ahead
benefit.
practically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, your type of communication is like more of an instant thing.
Yeah.
Like we would need time to work, and that
Yeah,
time
yeah.
is the time that they're asleep. So they don't
Exactly
they think it's like instant teleportation, like with
Yeah.
the record because they've
Yeah,
slept
yeah.
and it's in their inbox.
Imagine all the businesses are closed here.
Mm.
Yeah.
If you want something to get mastered, you have to wait for the next day for
Yeah.
for them to open.
Yeah.
But it's noon there.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like-
You're chilling.
I'm
yeah,
chilling,
You're having
yeah,
a
I'm
coffee and yeah.
Yeah, I can do it immediately.
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
and then 6 a.m. it's in their inbox.
It's
trying to
already
get
in
back to
their inbox,
studio,
yeah. Yeah.
In terms of like, because you mentioned the Lavery there, which is you know, they're not cheap.
Yeah.
How did you and obviously there's some plugins. There was a guy, yeah, shout out Ryan Schwab.
Yeah, shout out.
You know, so but how did you? What was when you're digging for gear like that? Are you looking at like I really love this record. Let me find out what the engineers used, or are you reading sound on sound reviews, or how are you kind of going like? You know, oh, there was this, you know, it's from the 80s.
Yeah.
It's called a Lavery. It's like
So,
Lavery Gold. Like,
yeah.
how are you, you know what I mean?
I mean, the Lavery Gold is super known
Sure.
in the industry. But I'm that guy that will look for things that nobody have. It's like fashion wise even, you know. I
Mm.
won't buy a shirt that I'll probably see on somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a fashion ad and like sneaker ad, you know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I was
yeah.
bigging you up. I could tell. Yeah.
Yeah, you're putting us to shame right now.
Yeah. Hey, we're living out of a suitcase. You know? It's tough. Yeah.
So I'm like that also with kind of gear.
Mm.
So I basically look for like cool gear that I might like and I'll test it and stuff like that. I don't care what the next guy is using or what they
Okay.
used on that. Especially nowadays that I build my desk kind of as a one piece.
Mhm.
All I'm looking for gear that kind of complement each other. And I mean Lavery, the DA and the AD, like hit the spot for me. It was like okay, end game here. You
Yeah.
know, both are like super clean, and the AD is like super punchy and what I need to the genres I work in. And I mean early on I decided like take the money that you make in the first years, finish the studio, like
Yeah.
completely finish the studio, and that's it. Just
Mm.
cruise, you know, and income is just income, and I don't have
Yeah.
to spend any more money.
Dude.
Well, I always spend money, but yeah.
Because we're sort of on the
Just
on the,
now on close.
Yeah, exactly.
You always find something to
save
buy.
it up. Yeah. We got when you come through London, we've got to go on a shopping trip, man. But,
Definitely.
but and then so let's because we brushed over it, but you started talking about like acoustic treatment, building your room. What you got in there speaker wise, and how much what do you like ABCing on different speakers, and talk us through that.
So I use one pair of speakers. I prefer investing in one pair of speakers that I trust.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm getting instead of like starting to compare on different ones. So I have Dutch and Dutch 8C, which are amazing sound-wise and technology-wise. I mean, that's for me, that's the speaker of the future
Mm-hmm.
because they're still upgrading it. It's crazy. It has like a built-in DSP, and they started implementing plugins into it that kind of makes it more immersive, and it's really insane.
Oh wow.
And in terms of acoustic, it's cardioid and it has like crazy technology. So it even if your room is not super treated,
Yeah.
it would still work. It kind of
Okay.
knows how to avoid the side walls and the back wall.
Yeah.
So you can even put the speaker like 20 centimeters from the back wall,
Yeah.
Okay.
and it will use it to its benefit, which is insane.
Yeah.
So does it? Do you have to like feed obviously a microphone into it so it can read the room, or
So when you set it up the first time, you can, out of the box, they already sound amazing.
Right.
If you want to really deep dive and design to your room, so it's as an integration with right now with REW, which is known in the acoustic world as a like measurement program.
Yeah.
So it's like SonarWorks type thing, or is it?
No, it's way more advanced. Way
Nice.
more. Yeah, it's like you see really how your room reacts and look, and it's
Right.
like
Okay.
insane.
like
deep-
resonant notes and
exactly.
stuff like that?
Yeah, decay time, stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's super deep dive.
You really went for it. You know, people just
I
like
went for
pay
it.
people to do this to
Yeah.
build the room for them.
Yeah, I did everything, even the labor. Like, you know, I went out and bought wood. And
Sick.
Well, there's another business for you. You know what I
maybe
mean?
I designed one room for a guy, like on a different country. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, can you design
Dope.
my room? I was like, sure, send me the measurements. I'll
Amazing.
make it, and it worked. You know, it's like.
Sick.
I mean, I tested recently, like in the last 3 years, on like 3 different rooms because I had to move rooms. So that kind of gave me like
a lot of experience.
yeah, like a test. I moved the things around, used different materials until I finished like this room. And yeah, I did everything by myself.
Is there any pieces of gear that you've had your eye on that you've been thinking about adding to your chain?
No, I mean, like, I'm so oversaturated. So,
Right.
I mean, I kind of found my piece for now, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of like subject that people like to argue in this field, but I like to test
Yeah, well, it
everything.
just seems sometimes for people on the outside, even mix engineers
Yeah.
that have like not spent a lot of time like diving into mastering, and you know, I've got an award for mastering, but I would never call myself a mastering engineer.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like such a
High
there's a
title.
mask over it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just like how, you know, it's like diving into it, like what we were saying the other day, like a lot of gatekeeping, and like, yeah, it feels like it's like that way by design almost.
Yeah, I mean, for no good reason, to be honest. I mean,
Well, as we're gonna show later,
Yeah.
you know, you're opening up the gate and showing us exactly how your system works.
and I
so-
do it like on a weekly basis. I do Q&A, ask me whatever. I show photos. I show my settings, the plugins I use.
Well, we'll make sure we put all of your links
Yeah.
below so
Yeah,
you can check that out if you want to know, you know, what's going on.
yeah, for sure.
Let's do a quick fire round.
Yeah.
So, first thing that comes to your head, don't overthink it, basically.
I'll try.
Yeah. And it can be, you know, a product, you know, even a mindset,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Okay.
Just what comes to mind. Doesn't have to be one word. Well,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can come back after. If there's a rabbit hole,
All right.
we'll grab it and come back.
No worries.
Yeah. Speakers.
Dutch and Dutch.
Knew that was coming. Headphones.
Meze Elite.
Okay. And a headphone amp.
Just the Grace M905.
Okay. Amazing. Compression.
NIF.
Vocals.
NIF.
Limiter.
Don't use them.
Okay. Wow. Okay. LUFS.
Forget about it.
That's why I put that in there, because I actually knew you were going to say that. DSP.
Dutch and Dutch.
Okay. Studio snack.
Ooh.
I love how that's the one that
Yeah.
he was
that's,
excited about.
Blackberries.
Blackberries.
Yeah.
Everyone is so fucking healthy on this podcast.
You gotta
like,
be.
I'm like, yeah, Domino's.
Dude, we're sitting all day. We need
I
to keep it
know.
healthy.
Yeah, I need
yeah.
to definitely need to take a leaf out of your
Yeah.
book. Lastly, DAW,
Wavelab.
Wavelab. Okay,
Yeah.
and for people watching,
Yeah.
the mix engineers, that's a mastering.
Yeah,
DAW.
by Steinberg. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, that's funny with like mastering because I never knew that. Like, there's all these other
They're
crazy
separate. Yeah,
DAW.
Sadie and
Yeah.
like there's all these like.
I mean, I
totally-
used to be on Pro Tools for that.
they're all
Yeah,
really
it's just too
expensive as well.
Yeah.
Like, really
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why.
Sequoia and all of these.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess it's because they don't have the same market, so they're like, we're
Yeah,
getting
we're
like
gonna
a
squeeze
tenth for the
it, yeah.
people. We need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
up the price.
We're gonna squeeze it.
Yeah.
Are you like when you with that DAW? Are you doing much? Because obviously you're like 100% analog, pretty much.
Mhm.
Are you? Because I know Ollie Morgan, Abbey Road. I mean, now he's doing primarily Atmos stuff. Actually, huge
Mhm.
projects. Big up Ollie, but he would be out analog, and then he would pull it into his DAW, and then that's kind of phase 2 at that point. You know, he would print, and then there would be another process.
Yeah.
Are you doing any making changes in the DAW, or are you?
I mean, sometimes.
Or that's just print and
No, sometimes.
okay.
I'll do a print and then I might open an extra de-esser. I use Vice. That's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I might open an extra EQ. Right now it's Metric Elo Zontech that came out recently.
Yeah. You said when you're doing remote work as well, like
yeah, exactly.
you can make the adjustments that you couldn't physically do.
Exactly.
with-
if I need to
yeah.
do extra work.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
I can't do, of course, while I'm
Yeah.
sitting in the studio.
Like we're gonna get a brilliant
Yeah.
story from you
Yeah.
after this.
And
which I'm
what-
excited for.
What happens if, like, inevitably you have there's some nightmare situation where, like, oh, actually that feature wrapper is not going to be on it. What's your process to like recall with all this analog gear, and how are you able to like, go back to the start?
So
and-
there's a software called Session Recall.
okay, yeah.
It's a one-man thing. And the guy basically decided, I don't know if that's his hobby or a full business, but he basically tracked down every piece of gear, like just photos and everything. And he created like an image of that. But
Mhm.
not just an image, you can actually move the knobs in the program.
Okay, yeah.
And that sets the recall, so you can pull them up and
Exactly.
be like, oh, those are my settings.
Exactly. You open
Okay.
that up
I have
and
seen
you
this, yeah.
and you move the knobs. Okay, that's what I finished on this session.
Yeah, so it's just
save
like a
it.
notepad, but like physical pictures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
exactly
back
that.
in the days that you hear like people used to do like Polaroids, literally. Yeah,
I used to
yeah.
take photos with my iPhone and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because it's difficult. Like you can write down like roughly the like hertz or the decibel,
Yeah.
but like it might not be exact.
I mean,
you
with
know?
mastering gear, most of my gear is stepped.
Click.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's easier to recall.
Mm.
But still, I mean, I
Amazing.
used to do it on every project, on every single. Nowadays, I probably will only do it for albums and stuff like that.
Well, and
Mhm.
as you said, a lot of the hardware equipment is like sort of set in place,
Yeah.
and then you're doing, your adjustments in the box.
Yeah.
You're running it through, getting your signature sound,
Exactly.
which you
And
said.
I'm a big believer in like state of mind.
Mm.
So let's say I mastered a single now, and tomorrow there's feedback. I'll prefer restarting than putting back the same settings I did and then go
Yeah,
from that.
That's a good place. Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, if it didn't get approved on the first one, I probably didn't feel it at that moment.
Yeah, it didn't
Yeah.
connect right.
Or I wasn't there.
Good point.
So
Good point. Yeah.
I'll just
That's a
start
very
again. I mean,
a very good mindset to have, I think.
Yeah.
Even maybe for mixing, obviously it takes a lot
Yeah.
longer to like restart a
exactly.
mix.
Yeah.
But I've done that all the time. If I get a recall, maybe the second recall they're still having
Yeah.
an issue with the vocal, I'm just gonna start the vocal again.
Yeah.
Because there's something not there,
Yeah.
and you can go through like every single plugin, and
Yeah.
it could be numerous things in one chain, that are
Yeah,
causing
exactly.
this issue because everything feeds into
You
one
can never
another.
know. So
Yeah.
you have to dial back.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit back to your days of producing with your
Hmm.
with your drum machines. Just like, if I didn't get it, okay, let's start again. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
my
that's
mindset.
really cool.
I mean, I'm believing like that's where I'm at at this moment.
Mm.
You know, I could have
Flow
been
state.
sad, I could have been happy, I could have been depressed, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But
yeah. Could have had a dodgy sandwich.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's good advice for like everyone listening, because I do get that, like, people just like, oh, I don't want to start again. It's like the worst thing, like just pushing through. You'll actually save yourself time probably in the long run if you did just start again.
Yeah.
One last question before we do some movie magic and flip over here. Any advice for any young guys or girls out there that are trying to break their way into the mastering world, which seems, you know, they're probably looking at it like, I have no idea. You know, it's like joining Hogwarts.
I mean, you can basically study by yourself and then just open plugins, play, like listen how every movement affect the sound. Try. I think my biggest change was I got this respect the mix vibe. I even have this label on my desk, respect the mix.
Okay.
Cool.
So also my gear choice kind of came from that. I search for gear that doesn't change the balance, but I can just play with the tone basically. Because the thing is, I think balance is the key, because it really matters, like how the vocal sits, how the bass sits, and that was always sorted in mixing.
That is the mixing, yeah. That's
the mixing,
yeah.
And that's what got approved. You know, the artists really like where the vocal sits, the bass player. Whatever.
I was gonna say Teezio, when he talks about he will just like mute the demo, he'll be like, okay,
back and forth.
Here's where the snare. I start with the kick. Okay, now the snare. But then he'll go back to the demo and be like, well, they had the snare here.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna put the snare because that will change the vibe of the track.
Exactly.
And they've got so used to hearing it like that as well.
Exactly. So I do the same, just with a mix.
Yeah.
I can't start shifting balance. You know. So I think, try to stay as close as possible to the mix you're getting.
I guess in a sense, like, remove your ego from it.
That's the toughest thing in mastering.
Yeah.
Because you always want to leave your signature.
Yeah.
That's a big one to try and jump over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where a lot of people fail, you know? They're too busy in putting their signature sound and to feel like they contributed to the project, or they are part of the sound of the project. But that's
not really
not the
what
thing.
it's about, no.
I think the hardest thing I learned in mastering is you need to learn how to do nothing. You need to know, like, when the mix works. And I don't need to do anything. I can be just pushing it at 0.2 dB.
Yeah.
And that was my contribution to that thing.
Yeah, just getting it loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess, like, you know, it's like you got to try and be transparent. And I think people in their early careers, you know, even with mixing and stuff like that, they're like, oh, I need to impress the client. I need to make it look like I've done something. Do you know what I mean? When really, like, I did a mix yesterday and essentially the guy just wants his demo.
Yeah.
Right? That's all he wants. And he's just paying me to redeliver.
And you get
demo.
that a lot. We call it demoism.
Exactly. Yeah. But
and there's like, he wants the demo, but like, you know, they play it in the club or at Wembley Stadium. It's not, the PA is not going to.
No, but we need to make, we need to make sure that it does do those things.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's doing the right things and it's going to react properly in the right systems. But I think mastering engineers, you know, really, your client isn't actually the artist. It's the mix engineer. You know, and they're the ones that are seeing the value in it. Right?
Exactly.
Because the artist is like, I have no fucking idea what this guy's doing. Like, you know.
I mean, you kind of need to serve everybody, and that's the thing. Yeah, I work directly with the mixing engineer or the producer in some cases, and I like to put the light on them. You know, kind of make them work shine. But at the end of the day, you really serve everybody. Because it happened to us. I mean, it happens a lot. Like the mixing engineer loves it, the producer loves it, but the artist is not approving.
Yeah,
you know? So there's so many people down the chain that you need to find the sweet spot for everybody.
Yeah.
And I heard again. I mean, sorry to keep, but he's got so much good advice, and he's someone you work with a lot. But Teezio says a similar thing. He's like, remember that they're trying to approve the album artwork, maybe the music video shoot, the tour starting, lawyers, contract. You know, there's so much
shit on their plate.
Don't add another problem.
Exactly.
Like, help.
Yeah.
Just help. Don't add
Yeah.
more problems.
Yeah.
You know, like,
So that's why the job of the master engineer at this point is pretty much stay out of the way.
Mm.
yeah.
And
Well, there's
that's-
the advice.
yeah, stay out of the way. I mean, try to stay out of the way.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, do your
And it's that
best.
thing of like just
Yeah.
trust where they just feel like, you know, a friend of mine who's a filmer and he hooked us up with Monty who's filming today. And I was just like, Mark's vouched for Monty. I'm good. You know, that's
Exactly.
what you want. It's
Exactly.
like, and then the record exec will be like, Teezio said this guy's mastering it. Sweet, good. I'm
Exactly.
happy. You know, it's the
Yeah,
same vibe.
have faith.
You know?
Yeah.
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 Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We're
Thank
gonna
you for
do
having me.
some movie magic now.
That's it. Oh, just to
And-
say, we're just for the record up in Sound Valley. They really hooked us up. Beautiful room.
Yeah, of course.
Beautiful sounding room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out
thank
to
you
those
so much.
guys and shout out to
Shout
Sontronics as well for these bright, lovely, colourful mics as well. Appreciate it.
Shout
Anyway,
out to Teezio the goat.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Now we're gonna turn around and Matt's gonna disappear. And we're
That's
gonna
it.
break down a track.
yeah,
Sweet.
like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Like twice. Tell your friends to like. Tell them to subscribe. Tell your mum to subscribe.
Okay, nice.
Cool. Thank you, man.
Sweet.
Appreciate it. Nice
Thank
one.
you for having me, man. It was great.